Because so many women are concerned about too much saturated fat in daily meals, a great change in eating habits is taking place in homes all over America. More and more women are using both Mazola corn oil and Mazola margarine. Mazola corn oil for frying and salad dressings because it's best for cutting down saturated fats in the diet when used instead of other leading oils. Mazola margarine, because its major ingredient, pure corn oil, has less saturated fat than the hydrogenated corn oils used in other leading margarines. Less saturated fat because its corn oil is never hydrogenated. A delicious spread and a nutritious seasoning for vegetables, Mazola margarine is the only margarine to contain Mazola corn oil.
So, if you're concerned about too much saturated fat, remember the best combination for cutting down saturated fats in the diet is Mazola corn oil and Mazola margarine.
The formula for losing weight is quite simple, right? Eat fewer calories, eat more salad, eat less fat. For decades we were told that fat is the enemy, that you can't lose weight unless you cut down the amount of fat that you eat. You want salad dressing? Choose low fat. You want mayonnaise? Choose low fat. You want ice cream? Choose low fat. Fat is the enemy of the thin. This man will be unfamiliar to most of you, but few people can claim to have had as big an impact on society's behaviour as this man. Ancel Keys was an American physiologist who in the 1950s developed the diet heart hypothesis. Keys was curious about the increase in cases of heart disease in the United States compared to other countries, and embarked on a huge study called the 7-Country Study. In this study, Keys collected data from 7 countries: the former Yugoslavia, the US, Greece, Italy, Finland, the Netherlands, and Japan. He concluded that the US had higher rates of heart disease because the American diet was higher in saturated fat. Saturated fat led to high cholesterol, and high cholesterol led to heart disease. This was his diet heart hypothesis, and it formed the basis of nutritional policy in the US and beyond for decades.
Here are vital statistics. They show that this problem here in America is the worst in the world.
The result? We were encouraged to eat high carbohydrate, low fat diets to protect against heart disease, and live long, healthy lives like people in Italy or Greece.
On the farm, we grow a food that's everything you need to eat. It's a fruit, a veg, a bread, a milk, a cheese, a bean, a meat. Hi, I'm Farmer Brown, singing about the foods you need to keep you healthy. Today, Fred here's going to tell us about bread, rice, cereals. They give you energy.
Instead, what we've seen is obesity levels rocket, and higher rates of diabetes and other obesity-associated diseases than ever before. Now, it would be wrong to blame all of this on Dr. Keys, and the purpose of this video is not to discuss the rights and wrongs of his work. The purpose of this video is to discuss a diet which is based on the complete opposite of the fat is evil belief. A diet followed by celebrities from Halle Berry to LeBron James. A diet in which you eat more bacon than bananas, more cheese than carrots, and more eggs than eggplants. So, are you ready to make friends with fat? It's common for a diet or eating pattern that strays from the norm to be dismissed as a fad or a trend. But the ketogenic diet has been around for over a century, and was used not as a way to lose weight but as a treatment for epilepsy. And in the 1920s it was widely used to control seizures before the development of anti-epileptic drugs. The ketogenic diet can be summarised as a high-fat, moderate-protein, low-carbohydrate diet, and its origins go much further back than the 1920s. And to understand how it works both as an approach to weight loss and a treatment for epilepsy, we first need to understand exactly where the science came from. The term ketogenic diet may have been coined in the 1920s, but the science behind it was used long before in ancient Greece. Hippocrates is considered to be the father of modern medicine, and was the first to determine that epilepsy was not some supernatural curse handed down from the gods as many believed, but a disease like any other, and one that could be cured like any other. And what was the cure? Fasting. By putting people on strict fasting regimes, ancient Greek physicians found that you could reduce both the number of seizures and the severity of them, with one of the most famous Greek physicians, Erasistratus, saying, "One inclining to epilepsy should be made to fast without mercy and be put on short rations." Now you may be wondering, what does fasting have to do with the ketogenic diet? One means to eat no food at all for a period of time, and the other is a high-fat, low-carbohydrate way of eating. The two things are completely different, aren't they? How can going without food for an extended period of time achieve the same results as eating a diet that's high in fat and low in carbohydrates? The answer is that they both make your body do the same thing, and that's because they both centre around a very important hormone when it comes to weight. If you have a friend or a loved one with diabetes, then you'll have heard of insulin. Insulin is a hormone your body produces after you've eaten, and its job is to bring down your blood sugar. The key point to understand is that insulin stops your body from burning its own fat. Think of insulin as being the key that locks the door to your body's fat. When you're fasting, your insulin levels fall low enough to allow your body to tap into your fat stores and burn them for energy. To understand how things work with the keto diet, you need to understand your body's insulin response to the different food groups. The keto diet is high fat, low carbohydrate because carbohydrates cause the biggest release of insulin, and fat the smallest. So if your diet's based largely on fat, your body releases smaller amounts of your fat storage hormone, meaning you not only store less fat, but also your body can tap into your fat stores much more quickly and much more easily. And this is the key to the ketogenic diet. It's based around keeping your insulin response to as low a level as possible. And when your body starts burning fat for fuel, it produces something called ketone bodies to provide the energy you would normally get from carbohydrates, hence the name ketogenic diet. This is how fasting and the ketogenic diet work. The keto diet mimics the effects of fasting, and that's why both have been used to treat epilepsy throughout history. And that's why both are popular ways to lose weight. A quick YouTube search will provide dozens of stories from people who say that the ketogenic diet helped them to lose an incredible amount of weight very quickly.
First month I lost 5 kilos, second month 2.5, and this third month another 2.5. So the total is about 10.4 kilos.
I originally started my journey at about 315 pounds. I've lost a total of 135 pounds.
In 1 year, I lost 102 pounds.
I've lost 160 pounds through food alone, just through keto.
And there's plenty of research which showed it to be a very effective way to lose weight. But then there are other studies that show weight loss is no better than for other strategies. One of the big issues with scientific research on the keto diet is that a lot of the studies are short term. In other words, 12 weeks or less. In medicine, we place a lot of value on the length of a study, because the longer the study, the more information you can gain about what it is that you're testing. Many of the trials examining the keto diet are conducted for a number of months rather than years, so long-term data is in very short supply. And what about heart disease? After all, we were told for decades that saturated fat is a one-way ticket to heart disease. The research, however, says differently. Multiple studies and reviews have shown that the link between saturated fat and cardiovascular disease is weak at best, while other studies have shown high-fat, low-carbohydrate diets actually lower the risk. And the narrative surrounding saturated fat has changed over the last decade or so.
That decades of advice to lower blood cholesterol through reducing saturated fat in the diet and also the use of drugs has failed to eradicate, if you like, the epidemic of heart disease. It's still one of the biggest killers in the Western world. And the reason for that is the focus has been misguided, it's been wrong, essentially. We know that saturated fat, based upon very robust data and studies now, shows that there is no association with the development of heart disease or type 2 diabetes or death. In fact, there is some data suggesting that saturated fat from dairy products actually may protect against heart disease and type 2 diabetes.
But many of you watching this video will be here to learn about how successful the keto diet is for weight loss. And while the research does show the keto diet to have a very high success rate, we can't ignore the fact that a lot of the studies have been over the short term. And this leads on to one of the biggest problems with the keto diet. There's a good reason why many of the studies conducted on keto are short term. It's a very difficult diet for a lot of people to stick to. For one thing, many people find it extremely limiting. It's only when people start a ketogenic diet that they realise carbohydrates are present in a lot of foods, including most fruit and vegetables. That means the list of foods you can't eat grows very long very quickly. Most people grow tired of having a diet composed mainly of cheese, cream, bacon, chicken breast and broccoli. It also means you can't have many treats, including these. One celebrity who has used the ketogenic diet to lose weight is Megan Fox. In an interview with E! News, she said, "I don't eat anything fun." And when a diet becomes boring, it becomes very difficult to maintain it long term. Now, it's worth saying that there are a lot of keto substitutes available for things like chocolate and cakes. But that leads on to the next problem. Cost. I live in the UK, which is a horribly expensive country to live in, and I can't speak to other places. But here the keto diet can become very expensive. There are lots of companies that produce keto-friendly foods, but in many cases you'll pay a premium for them, and the cost can add up very quickly. Aside from the lifestyle implications, there are also some medical concerns about the ketogenic diet. The research shows there's an increased risk of kidney stones, and anyone with any kind of kidney issue should avoid it. A lot of people also develop what's known as keto flu. Keto flu usually starts around 2 to 5 days after you've started the diet, and includes things like irritability, fatigue, headache, nausea, insomnia, brain fog, and constipation. Now, these symptoms do resolve when your body becomes accustomed to what you're doing, but nonetheless it's not an enjoyable few days. Another side effect of the keto diet is one that could have a negative effect on your love life: keto breath. Now, bad breath is subjective, but people describe the keto breath as being a sweet and fruity smell, while others describe it as just downright awful. But perhaps the most serious potential complication is that with a lot of fruit and vegetables disqualified from the diet, there's a risk of nutrient deficiencies, which will have a negative effect on your overall health. So as you can see, there's a lot to think about when it comes to the ketogenic diet. When it comes to weight management, there are two parts that need to be satisfied in order for it to be a success: losing weight and maintaining that weight loss. Many of you watching this video will have lost weight successfully in the past, but I'm willing to bet that a significant number of you will have also regained some or all of that weight. For many people, losing weight is the easier part. It's keeping the weight off that's the problem. The key to maintaining weight loss is to lose it with a sustainable strategy, one which you can maintain when you've got to the weight you want to be. That's why severe calorie restriction is a poor way to lose weight. You can restrict your calories only for so long before you run out of willpower. And it's this lack of sustainability that is perhaps the biggest downside to the ketogenic diet. It can be a very restrictive way of eating, and eating the same foods repeatedly becomes very boring very quickly. Your weight loss is not supposed to feel like a punishment. If it does, then the wheels will come off eventually. The ketogenic diet can take the joy out of food, and that is almost impossible to maintain for a lot of people. Now, don't get me wrong, the evidence is there that shows the ketogenic diet is a very good way of losing weight, but it requires a high level of discipline and self-control. You need to be able to resist temptation, to be able to say no to things that you might usually like to eat. But if you are a disciplined person and are prepared to try the ketogenic diet, you need to do your research about what you can and can't eat and in what quantities. Generally speaking, 70 to 80% of your calories need to come from fat, 5 to 10% from carbohydrates, and 10 to 20% from proteins. And make no mistake, it's not everyone who finds the ketogenic diet hard to maintain, and there are plenty of stories of people who have followed it for 5, 10 or 15 years and more. But ultimately, whatever method you choose to lose weight, you always need to be able to answer this question: is it sustainable?